It is November 8th, 2018, and we are 1 week out from my corrective surgery for Pectus Excavatum. About 3 months ago, I had my first true big episode due to Pectus. And unfortunately, the medical professionals at the time, they didn't know it was because of Pectus, because a lot of medical professionals don't even know what Pectus is. They've never even heard of Pectus excavatum. I was out of town with my boyfriend, and we were riding in the car to dinner with friends. I remember sitting next to him, singing and dancing, and I looked at him and I said, "Jared, I can't see or hear anything. Jared, I think I'm having a heart attack." My heart was pounding so fast at my chest. My heart felt like it was squeezing itself just so tight, and my chest felt like it could just collapse. I couldn't breathe. My whole body was shaking. He was also scared because of what he saw. I remember him trying to breathe with me, trying to calm me down, but it just came on so fast we couldn't control it. We pulled over at a gas station and called an ambulance. The paramedics got there. They quickly hooked me up to an EKG. They did some blood work, and they tried to help slow my heart and get my oxygen up. They said, "Danielle, your heart is beating really fast. Danielle, we have to get your oxygen up." Then they screamed continuously at me, "Danielle, stay with me. Stay with me, Danielle." It was the first time in my life I thought I was dying. Once we got to the hospital and into the ER, I remember telling both the paramedics and my doctor that I had Pectus excavatum and previous heart issues. They did a chest x-ray for me, and then they put me into a psych room. They took away my phone. They made my boyfriend leave the room, and they let me lie there for 3 hours, holding my heart, crying. It was excruciating pain at this point. The nurses sat outside of my room and gossiped about me the whole time, saying I was crazy and that basically I was just causing drama. The doctor told me I was just having a panic attack, and he diagnosed me with anxiety and then discharged me 3 hours after being there. It was the worst encounter I've ever had with any hospital. They did nothing for me that night. I went home with severe chest pain. My heart still felt like it was squeezing itself, and my whole body sore and hurting, with a diagnosis of anxiety, which I've had anxiety my whole life. I think I know the difference between a panic attack and something more severe. I know my body. I'm a runner. I was running 3 to 5 miles a day, and at this time, I couldn't run a mile. I remember it was a Wednesday. I tried running. I called my mom and I said, "Mom, something's wrong. I can't even run a mile. I don't know what's wrong, but something's wrong." Then Monday came around. I went to work. I felt pretty bad that day. I came home at lunch and I couldn't even walk up my steps without getting out of breath. It was like every step was harder and harder. I called my mom. She said, "Danny, go get your pulse ox. Let's check your heart rate and your oxygen levels." My oxygen was in the low 90s. I went back to work. I felt terrible. I called my cardiologist and said, "I think I need to come in and we need to see if it's my Pectus." He suggested that CT scan from my previous visit, and I wanted it done. I didn't make it to his office before I ended up back in the ER. I had a full-blown episode again, just like I had when I was out of town. My oxygen saturation level was at 84%. My heart rate high in the 170s, 170 beats per minute. I was shaking from head to toe. It was terrible. I felt miserable. Missouri Baptist admitted me that night, and the doctor told me he didn't know what was wrong with me, but he wanted to go ahead and admit me. I spent a week in Missouri Baptist. They thought I had a blood clot. They were able to rule that out after a couple days. Then they did an echocardiogram. They did one lying down and one standing. The tech had never done a standing echocardiogram in all of her 20 years. But for me, it's very positional. I'm okay lying down, like I am right now. I'm not symptomatic lying down. It's only standing up, walking, or exerting myself in any way. So she did the standing echo. Everyone in that room thought they saw a hole in my heart. The next day, they did a transesophageal echocardiogram. They put me under general anesthesia, and they put a camera inside to look at my heart from the inside. I was lying down, and I was sitting up during that test. A TEE is what it's called. They ruled out what they saw from the day before from the standing echocardiogram. They said that I didn't have a hole in my heart. They decided to discharge me. They said they had exhausted all efforts, that there was nothing else they could do for me, and that they would send me home with an oxygen tank, because a lot of people live off of oxygen. Okay, let me remind you, I'm a 26-year-old female who was just running 5 miles 3 months ago. It didn't really make sense to send me home and be okay living off of an oxygen tank my entire life with no answers. But that's what they did. My cardiologist agreed to see me down in my hometown of Farmington. And he quickly realized I should be hospitalized. He admitted me to Barnes Jewish Hospital in St. Louis. Once I got to Barnes, I was having a full-blown episode, and my whole team of doctors had come in at this time to meet me, so they got to witness it. The cardiologist on that team said, "I have no clue what's wrong with you, but I am not sending you home until we have answers." They had never seen Pectus excavatum. Some of them had never even heard of Pectus excavatum. They did their research. They learned all the different ways to determine if Pectus was causing my symptoms, while also running every other test under the sun to see if I had any other underlying issue going on, because I was so symptomatic. They repeated the echocardiogram. Again, they did it lying down, showed nothing. I was totally normal, if you will. Then they did a standing echo. Again, this tech at Barnes had never done a standing echocardiogram. And this is Barnes Jewish Hospital we're talking about, one of the top 10 hospitals in the country. When I stood up during my standing echo, my team of doctors in the room looked amazed at what they were seeing. They could see that when I stand up only, the Pectus excavatum puts strong pressure on my heart and causes a PFO, or a hole in my heart, to open up, and that when that hole opens, the deoxygenated blood flows the wrong way. They also saw that when I stand up, my right ventricle gets pinched off and I lose 60% of blood flow. This was a pretty remarkable day for the doctors and myself. I felt like a science experiment as they oohed and awed at the screen because of in amazement of what they had seen. But it finally meant we had answers. The next day, they had a surgeon come in, the director of Pectus at Barnes. He was horrific to me. He came in and he told me that I wouldn't even qualify for the Nuss procedure, and to get that out of my head. that the ravage procedure was my only option. Then he began to show us how he would cut me open right down the middle of my chest, how he would remove all of the muscles off my chest, how he would again break my breastbone, pull it out, rewire it, and then how he would cut out a portion of my ribs. I asked him if I could get a second opinion, that I had too done my research, and there was a doctor by the name of Dr. Jarzewski at the Mayo Clinic in Phoenix, and the Nuss procedure was very successful, that she did over 300 cases a year. He told me that if I were to seek other advice or a second opinion, that don't bother coming to see him. He said he would not cancel any of his other surgeries for me if I wasn't serious about this. Guys, I'm on a high-risk cardiac floor, and this doctor, this surgeon, is questioning if I'm serious about this. He left my room on a really bad note. I didn't learn this until later, but he chose not to even study the Nuss procedure. Yet he told me I didn't qualify for it. He came back 30 minutes later and apologized. Although I didn't want to accept his apology, I did. That's when the all call went out to Dr. Jarzewski. Thanks to one of my best friends, Liz Schmidt, she created a medical campaign to get in touch with Dr. J. Because Dr. J is the top surgeon in the world for Pectus. She's a very busy woman, as you can imagine. She's very much in demand, and I really needed this surgery. So, thanks to all of you for making that happen. She called my team of doctors at Barnes, Dr. Jarzewski herself. She said I definitely do qualify for the Nuss procedure, that she'd be happy to get me on her schedule and work me in, and that basically everything was going to be okay. It was one of the best days of my life, having my team of doctors come in and give me that news to me and my family. So here we are now, 1 week away from my Nuss procedure. I've been at home with my parents ever since I was released from the hospital, as I still can't shower on my own. My heart rate gets really high if I'm up for a long period of time. It's been ranging anywhere from 40 to 205 beats per minute since being home. I can tell you today that, let's see what my watch says. It's ranged from 46 beats per minute to 160 beats per minute. I don't leave the house or anything. I just walk to the bathroom and to the kitchen. But guys, I am so excited for what 1 week from today will bring. I know it's going to be a long, long road of recovery, but I can do it. All right, 1 week, 7 days from today until my surgery. I'll keep you guys posted. Bye.